All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so a bit of excitement the past two sessions here in the market. Today, SPY and QQ both came down to their daily 21 EMAs. SPY ended up holding it. QQQ is underneath it. Let's talk about it. Okay, we're going to kick it off with the indices here. We'll go over the Mag 7 stocks, and I have a few great ideas at the end of the video that I think are about to rip. Just for you. All right, so stay tuned, and let's get into it. We're going to try and make this one quick here. I'm just going to say, guys, I don't know with certainty if we're just going to be pushing up just like nobody else does, okay? Are we just going to be pushing up? Or are we going to fade this? I don't know. In the short term, I'll tell you, I think we're going to continue the dead cat bounce. I'll show you why in this video, but you know, I'm not going to tell you if it's just going to be dead cat bounce or not. I'm going to tell you what I think. All right. But at the end of the day, we don't know until it happens. But I can point to some things in this video that suggest we probably are going to continue pushing higher in the short term. Just a little bit. Okay, so SPY over here, guys. Downside, we're watching 636.79, 634.66, 632.95, and 631.22. On the upside, we have 639.85. Above there, 642.18, 644.11, 646.19. All right, this still can be a dead cat bounce, even if you come all the way up here, 642. That is where bears want to be holding. That right here is where you broke down from. That was the bottom of your little, 4-bar range you had, and then boom, the floor gave out. All right. So now that is going to be where we clear as day will have supply right up here, 642.18. That's where you're watching as a bear. Over here, we're going to come down to the 4-hour. Guess what? SPY, 4-hour RSI was oversold. Guess what? QQ, 4-hour RSI was oversold. Most of the tickers we're going to talk about in this video have their 4-hour RSIs in oversold territory. So the question was the correction a gift? Was it? Maybe. It just might. At least on the setups that I'm going to go over, some no-brainers here at the end of the video. Yeah, it was for those. But yeah, that's really all it is here, guys. That really is as simple as it is. Right here, 640, you're going to have the 4-hour 21 EMA. So if sellers are going to step in, I'm going to say they're either going to do it here around 640 or they wait and do it at 642.18. But those are the two key levels you're watching here on the upside. On the downside, if you lose 636.79, you can see where we really were holding today, 634.66. If you do come back down here, I'm just going to tell you, you very likely are going to continue back down to those lows. Okay. If you even take out this low over here at, I'll just mark it out for us right here at 635.21, we're probably going to be returning back down to the lows. Again, I'm going to show you in this video why. I don't think we're going to be doing that here in the short term, but I'm open to the possibility of doing so early next week or on Friday if we get a decent, more of a decent bounce tomorrow. Either way, we're going to go over it. Coming over here to QQQ. All right. Again, 4-hour RSI was oversold there. We can see that right here. All right. You are in the golden pocket. That's where you found buyers over here. And what are we watching on the upside? We have 566.06, 568.45 today's high. Get above today's high at 568.45. We're talking 572.11 and then 574.63. If you get back up here, you're probably just returning back to all-time highs, 583.32. On the downside, all right, you have 562.60. That's really all you got going here, guys. That's all you got, 562.60. If you take 562.60 out, you're probably going to return back down to these lows, and I imagine you wouldn't hold it, but, best case scenario, if you take this out, you're expecting sideways action, okay? Real easy, guys. Tomorrow, if you do get down underneath 562.60, all right, do not get bullish again until, you guys see this cloud here. I'll just show you guys in this video. EMA cloud, 150.250. These are the settings right over here. You can steal it. You can take it, all right? You're going to have to make opacity here 100% on that one, opacity here 100% on that one. You make this one red, you make that one white. You have 5, 9, 21. You have a good time, okay? But let's just say you don't want to do that, okay? You're just going to wait, all right? You're going to take this out, and then you're going to wait until price can get back above the 15-minute 21 EMA, and then also take out whatever structure you built out, whatever high you have here before taking out here. You don't get bullish again until you take that out. That's how simple it has to be. That's how simple it has to be. It doesn't have to be more complicated than, okay? And that's that. All right, it does not have to be complicated. So on the downside, we have 56260. You take that out, best case scenario, you're trading flat and you're just going to wait for that structure to then, you know, you're going to break above the structure. You're going to wait for that. But you probably will just come back down to the lows if you test 56260. Okay, so if you don't hold 56260, we're talking 558.84. Underneath 558, we're talking 551.68, and then 540.81. We can see very clearly on the weekly time frame here. You take out this swing low, you're coming straight down to previous all-time highs, 540.81. You can have a weekly 21 EMA test. Now, people are going to get real bearish on this. I'm telling you, it's going to be bought. All right, and people are going to look at me like I'm stupid for saying that, but I'm telling you, you have an uptrend. Why are you going to do the opposite of what it wants you to do? All right, there was one time you took out a last weekly low, and that was right here. One time for years, since over here, since October 2023, that was the first time you took out a weekly low. That would be us taking out 551.68 right here. I'm just going to say, odds are you don't do it. Okay, that's what I'm telling you right now. And I still think with what I'm going over in this video, you guys are going to say, yeah, we probably are going to be continuing this bounce in the short term. And again, massive lower wick here. We typically aren't just going to sell right away off these. We will continue the little bounce and maybe take some time rolling over, and then boom, all once you come back down to lows and you flush. But you normally won't just, you know, continue falling off a cliff there. I think if we get a dip tomorrow and it doesn't violate 56260, I think it's something that will be bought. So that's what I'm going to be watching for, okay? That is QQQ. We're going to come over here to VIX, guys. VIX had a big move up today, broke 1628, boom. Hit it with the intraday reversal, and you completely reversed today's move. Still can't spike. Your early warning sign is 1628. And then also set an alert for 1719. You get above 1719 on the VIX, you are probably coming back down to those lows on SPY and QQ and going a decent amount lower. And we probably do see VIX spike up here to 2055 again. 20 to 22 is what we're going to look for if you break above 1719 from here. That's just how it is. All right. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you do it, that's what we look for. Other than that, yeah, volatility's not happening. You have to get back above 1628 for, like, that's your warning sign for this. All right, break above 1628. You have the possibility of coming up to 1719. Doesn't mean you're going to do it, but odds are increased at that point because it's starting to hike back up. All right, so that's VIX. You come over here, DIA, guys. You know, I know I was absent yesterday. I spent the whole day in New York City with the lady, with the missus. I got home around 11 o'clock. I ate. I put like an hour or so into analysis for the Discord. And guess, oh my God, PLTR is rocking it, man. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. What is that? What is that? It's going crazy. It's going to be at 161.40 tomorrow. Craziness, guys. Daily RSI hit the spot over here. It was down here at just about, I think it was actually at 35. It was a little bit lower. But this is over the past few years. This is where you put your bottoms in. You can come all the way back down to late 2022. And that's still the case. Okay, ever since then, guess what? You come down here, bottom. All right, bottom. Doesn't mean you're just going straight back up. But a lot of times you do go straight back up. The other times, you build out your base. All right? But I'm telling you, with where we got down earlier, yeah, it was very likely going to start popping back up. And now we are, it's happening. And I do think we are probably going to be, we're going to get 160-140 in the short term. And if sellers don't step in around there, I think we can get 166, 167. All right, so that's what I'm playing over here on PLTR for that move. I do think this thing is going to be continuing at least up to 160, 140 tomorrow. That's PLTR. But big move down. Might have just seen the bottom. Even if it's not the bottom, I think we're just going to build out a range, you know, a little base like that before a larger move. I think that's likely going to be the case. And I'm going to show you what I think it's going to be like right here. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are 4 weeks here where you had the, you know, you had to sell at some point in the week, probably early on the week, and then you got bought up by end of week. Over here from the low, it's 8% move. Next week, what happened? 7% move. Next week, what happened? 9%, 10% move. Next week, what happened? It was an 11%. You know, over here, this is 15%. This is 11%. I'm talking 10% plus moves. Today, we saw a really big boy move already. So that already could have, you know, satisfied itself. I'm telling you, the plan is over here. I don't think this thing heads straight back up the highs. I think we probably will do a variation of that, and that's how I plan on trading it over the next few weeks. All right, but that's PLTR. Now back to the business. All right, IWM DIA. I know we were absent yesterday, but I was in New York City. I was not going to put out a video. I went to sleep like 1:32. It's not because the market took a dive. It was a pre-planned trip. It's a very unfortunate pre-planned trip. It was on a terrible day to do so. The market took a dive. I would have liked to be here at my desk for that day. Regardless, it's okay. But yeah, DIA, we did discuss it ahead of time. No matter what, guys, we're looking for this dip to be bought. We know DIA is going to have this big all-time high breakout. This is bullish consolidation. It's going to break out here in the short term. I don't care what it does. I don't care if it pulls back a bit. I know today's sell was scary, but at the end of the day, QQQ and SPY, they both found buyers around the 21 EMA. They both have the 4-hour RSIs oversold. These are both conditions we get towards bottoms. I'm not saying, this has to hold. I'm just suggesting here that, yeah, things do suggest we probably are going to hold what we had today. NVIDIA, the king, the largest component of the NASDAQ. Oh, what's it going to do, Henry? What is it going to do? It's probably going to go 178 to 180 tomorrow. All right, that means QQ is probably going to get a bit more of a dead cat bounce. Like I said before, SPY can get all the way up to 642. 18 here, and it still could be a dead cat bounce, but that's where you want these sellers to start defending. That is where they would step in. If they do not, and you see price get above 643.30 at that point, all-time highs on deck. All right, and that's that. That's just how it is. Always if this, then that. That is how that goes, and that's how, over time, like I think any market participant is going to see, that is exactly the only way it ever is in the market. It is if this, then that. And that's what's going on here with the indices, okay? All right. We went over levels over here on SPY and QQQ. We went over VIX there. We're going to quickly go through the Mag 7 stocks, all right? Very quickly. Tesla, found buyers off the trend line it just broke out from, okay? I really would say you just have to get about 348.98 to confirm this. Other than that, you're going to keep seeing fake out moves. You're buying in consolidation. Once this actually goes, this thing, these moves, they go for quite a bit there, guys. That's 80 points off the low. Let's say today's the low over here. That means, yeah, that's almost the $400. All right, you break above here. If you come up to $400, that's still a 50-point move. You don't have to trade this crap. That's Tesla. That's my opinion on it. That's how I'd be approaching it, and that's how I am approaching it. That's Tesla. Amazon, I think it makes sense for them to consolidate it. I don't think they're going to take out this low. I think they're going to hold the weekly 21. But I do think we are in this consolidation period, something like this, where they are going to hold you for a little while. Maybe we don't take out the high even next week, but maybe that comes the following week after that. All right, but consolidation. Before we go any further, I'm just going to point out the MAGS ETF over here, guys. I pointed this out on this breakout week. I know it didn't pull back that following week, but it did pull back this week over here, and we said if it happens, this is what we're going to expect. Didn't say it's going to happen, but we said if it happens, this is what we're going to expect. You had the weekly 21 EMA being taken out on this correction, This is a bigger one, all right? Same condition as over there, okay? And then you make it up to new highs. You hit it with the break and retest. You find buyers. You consolidate for 2 weeks. And then you have another impulsive move up. Well, that would be like us going flat for the next 2 weeks. It would align with what I'm saying over here, okay, on SPY QQ, as well as, the rest of the markets, also aligning with what I'm thinking over here in the video, okay? NVIDIA, guys, decent bid off the low there, guys. Increasing volume. You got the nice lower wick action going on here. 4-hour RSI was oversold. This looks like it's probably going to be getting up to 178 to 180 in the short term. Probably going to be happening tomorrow. 178 is right at the 4-hour 21 EMA. That's where you should be expecting rejection. That is just where we would be expecting sellers to step in. Doesn't mean it has to reject, but that is where we should expect it. That's where we will have overhead supply. That's where we broke down from. That's where the 4-hour 21 EMA is. And also, the daily 21 EMA is also in this vicinity as well, this area. All right, so that is NVIDIA. We are anticipating we are probably going to be seeing some further upside. Meta, guys, found buyers 740, 91, break and retest today, all-time high. Probably going to, continue holding this area at least. I don't think you're just going to sell down through it. 4-hour RSI was oversold. You have to get above 760. If not, you're just in this consolidation. That's that. That's the first step for the bulls. That's meta. You got to get above 760, but it is a break and retest off previous highs. It's also a break and retest off this previous range here on GOOG. All right, Google, this is 198.16, guys, right out the daily 21 EMA. And yeah, you still very well can hold this. I would be very surprised if you have this big correction here right before all-time highs. I think you're probably just going to head up to all-time highs. And maybe we, hit it with another range like this, some frustrating price action over the next, 3 to 6 weeks here. Not really sure, but I do think all-time highs, it's imminent, guys. It is. So, if it does give us a larger pullback, we know for a fact this is one to focus on for that move back up. We know it's there on the higher time frame. It's there. But also, we know it's probably not going to be having that larger move down. It probably is going to find buyers here and just push up maybe by next week, okay? That's GOOG. Don't got to complicate it. Apple, we're looking for buyers on this dip. You're pulling back into the daily 21 EMA, 225.62. That is your support. That's where you just broke out from. But what we are going to be looking for is for you just to hold this daily 21. In between the daily 21, which is sitting around 221.5 and 225.62, that is where we're looking for buyers. We're looking for them to take you back up above 231. I don't think they break you out above 235.12 just yet, but I do think that comes within 1 to 2 weeks. I think we're probably going to be hitting it with something like this. All right. Microsoft, don't touch it underneath the 21 EMA. It's butt ugly. On the downside, you have 576, then 488.70 until you get back above 518.29. It's on the no touch list. There you go. Okay. Now, I got some ticker for you to pay attention to. These are things that are probably going to be hot here in the short term. ETHA over here, guys, that is just Ethereum. I do think Ethereum is going to come up to all-time highs here in the short term. I think this is just a 21 EMA test on the daily time frame. I think you're going to shoot up here sooner rather than later, okay? You didn't hit all-time highs. I think it's coming, and I think we should probably be expecting that over the coming weeks, okay? It doesn't mean it has to happen, but that is probably how this chart is going to move. It's a big break and retest happening, and you are right here on the daily time frame reverting to the mean. That's ETHA. You want one that's going to be moving with it that I think is setting up in a really appealing manner here. BMNR, all right? This is the daily time frame. We'll come over here to the 4-hour time frame. I'm just going to point out, guys, you got to get through this area. You clearly tell this is where buyers were holding it. Well, now there's got to be sellers there. Regardless, this thing had a pretty sexy hammer candlestick on increasing volume, printing right off the daily 21 EMA. The recent high here was all the way up at 71.74, guys. Current price is 52.28. Premiums are jacked, but I'm just going to tell you guys, the 60C, 919.60C, they go 200 something percent if you make it back up these highs. There you go. Doesn't mean you have to take it. I personally like ETHA more. I'm just going to be transparent there. I think this looks a lot cleaner, and I know this is going to move with Ethereum because it is Ethereum. So yeah, but those are the two ideas. Now this is a no-brainer over here on TSM, guys. 4-hour RSI hit a spot where at 20 down there, the last 3 times this happened, you had an 8% move within 2 to 3 sessions. Okay, it was 2 sessions, but we're going to say 2 to 3 sessions. I expect that to be the case. Off of these lows, an 8% move would bring over here 240 plus. Okay, I think 240 plus is probably going to be coming by maybe Monday. That's if that's going to hold up. It's going to be by Monday. Maybe it happens by Tuesday. Not really sure, but I do think we'll find buyers here off of this previous all-time high. And yeah, I think at least in the short term, you can play it up to 230, 270, and then above there, 235, and then 237.58. And like I said, the target is 240 plus. So that is my trade idea for you that I just see as a no-brainer. I like how the weekly and daily chart are still set up. I think this is all consolidation before it does move up. I think this is a move right before that does that. I know, call me crazy, but it's okay. Iron, guys, we got a bunch of calls coming in today. The tape was getting lit up today. Mostly dated, but we had some short dated calls. Regardless, you have consolidation going on for about 6 weeks now. I think this thing is about to start moving up. I really like what's going on here on iron above 1984. We're talking 2154, and then I think we're probably coming 25 plus and then 2825, but 25 plus, that would be the target. Iron, all right. Lemonade, all right, guys. It still can get that move. I don't think it's going to get a crazy move this week. I'm going to just be transparent on that, but I am still looking for continuation here over the coming weeks. I think this will continue trekking higher. I just don't think it's going to get the move this week. Why? Because none of these trending candlesticks have these large lower wicks, and if we do make it back up to the highs this week and extend that week candlestick, like we will have large lower wick, and that's just not normally what happens when you're about to continue pushing. So if we do see that push into end of week, I don't think it's going to continue much further without pulling back. We either got something like this going on where we will have sideways action, all right, or something like that where it's a doji before you come back down there, and start, come back down to earth. Or we have something like this going on, okay, where we will just continue trekking up over the coming weeks, but it's not going to be any massive crazy moves, but we still are going to be, trekking higher. Regardless, I like this. I think it's bullish. I think it's set up in a bullish manner here. I'm looking for further upside, but I don't think we're going to get some crazy impulsive move this week. It's possible. Break above 60.41. All right. It is possible you shoot straight up to 66.48 and then 70 plus. I'm just, with the lower wick being there on the week candle, I am now uncertain about it. So there's that. But I'm still bullish on this name over here. That's Lemonade. All right. Next one, D King. I like how the daily chart is, like this constructive look we got. We have this inverse head and shoulders pattern kind of going on. I do think in the short term, this probably is going to start pushing up. Weekly chart, you're trying to break out of this little range there you got going on for like 4 to 5 weeks. And yeah, daily chart looks like it's going to start moving above 46.64. We're talking 47.40, and then above there, I think we're going to start just going straight up to 49.57. I think we do have one of these larger impulsive moves up right around the corner with what it's doing. Okay, it's a lot of consolidation, compression leads to expansion. APLD, guys, I think if it's going to make the move, it's going to happen this week. If you have another upper weekly wick here, I don't think the move happens here on this run here. I think we will have a larger correction and then go. Or just shit ton of more consolidation for a few weeks. Regardless, I think it's possible to make this move into end of week. And because I think that, yeah, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen this week. On this weekly candle, it just make more sense. Yeah, a solid shot. You do this into end of week here. You got a hammer candlestick off the 21 EMA. You got the close above 1542. Above 1692, we're talking 1968. That's APLD. OCLO. All right, OCLO over here, guys. I do think it's setting up for us. All right, if you literally just take... Da 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 da. There we go. There we go. We'll go like that. We'll go like that. And what happens if we go like that? It's looking exactly how it did over here, and it's probably going to behave in a similar manner, which means in the short term, we might be retesting the 21, which is currently around 70 to 71. Ta-da! OCLO, all right, looking for it to behave in a similar manner. Regardless, we're going to be watching this one over the coming weeks. It's setting back up for us. That's OCLO. TEM, guys, you almost came back to scene of the crime. 65.82. You held it. You had a big move off the low there on increasing volume. And I will not be surprised if this thing pushes straight back up and you do get 80 plus this week. We have 2 sessions left in the week. I think this weekly candle might expand. If you do hit it with the doji candlestick, then this is probably going to consolidate for another few weeks before starting a larger push. But because I think we are going to start this larger push up, like we kind of already have, but I think it's going to keep going. I think we're likely to push into end of week here on TEM. All right, above 78.99. We're talking 91.45, guys. It's a big move. Cypher, I like how you're setting up over here above 630. We're talking 710, then 777. All right, APP, what's going on over here? All right. Big move off of $400. You reclaim the 21 EMA by the end of the day. You got the close above it. You got increasing volume on here. Next step for bulls is a move above 428.99. Get back above there. I don't think it's going to be long until you get 473.70. Get above 428.99. We're watching 444. Above there is when we probably will move straight up to 473.70. Regardless, we are anticipating this thing is going to start moving back up to all-time highs. APP. Hot with the hammer candlestick today. All right, slash, little dragonfly doji, whatever you want to call this thing. You got off the 21 EMA. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing start moving up with Cypher there, okay? I'm just going to say, miners, they're kind of setting up over here. I like Riot off the weekly 21 here. You're starting to break up from this 2-week range. I think it's probably going to be having a big move into end of week out of this range. So something to pay attention to, but regardless, over the next few weeks, I think this might be having a bigger move back up to these highs, and that means a 2 to 3 point move. All right, that's Riots. VST putting a hammer candlestick right at the low of the range here. Swept the low 190. I think we're probably going to get 200 plus in the short term. All right, but regardless, up here 199. This is where I would be targeting. If you're taking it down here, this is where I'd be taking it off. The daily cloud, it did flip back to red over here. You're underneath the 21 EMA. It's not like you immediately reclaimed it like over here or over here. So yeah, you got to work on that area. You got to get a daily close back above $200. And then at that point, I still think a big move is loading over here to the upside. Still keep it on the radar. It's VST. All right. And that's what I have for you guys today. All right. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really do. All I ask is that you guys leave a like on these videos. The only thing that really helps me get it out to more people. I do put a considerable amount of time into these videos. I already recorded this video. Guess what? I wanted to make it shorter for you guys to make it, more easily digestible, because people don't have, wide attention span. And I'm no different. It's just how today's age is. All right. But I'll tell you guys, I do put a decent amount of time into this, and I do genuinely hope it's helping everybody, and I hope some of you guys are making a ton of money off of some of these trade ideas that I give you at each and every video at the end of the video. I really do. All right. I know the market decided to take a cliff dive the last 2 sessions. I understand. But we did go over in a quick manner here, might I add. We went over quite a bit because this video just took me 60 minutes. I now did it in 25 minutes. Okay. Same information, just tried running through things quicker. All right. And I hope you guys appreciate that. I certainly have put extra time into it for you guys. So I just do ask for that like. That's all I ask for. We can, get this channel out to more people, and maybe tap into the YouTube algorithm little by little here. Okay. But I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate that. Other than that, guys, if you want to come trade with me, I'm live every day. That link is down below. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a good time in the market. I know the market decided to fall off a freaking cliff the last 2 days. I know I wasn't here yesterday. But at the end of the day, yeah, things are looking like we're going to continue having this dead cat bounce here. I think it might be a little, maybe we push straight back up to highs, but I wouldn't expect it, guys. I think the most probable scenario from here is we do build out this consolidation here. Maybe next week we can take out this week's high over here. All right there. And then, push above all-time highs and get this, party started again. But I also think we might go through this period of just a bunch of sideways action with how the Mag 7 stocks are set up. I do think NVIDIA, I don't know if it's just going to push right back up the highs. I don't think it is. But we do. I don't think it's going to do that move before earnings. If it does, it's a bit concerning, honestly. But it's definitely possible. I just don't think they're going to flip this weekly candlestick into some massive hammer. I don't think that's going to be the case. And if it does, hey, we'll approach it, that way. And at that point, we have something like that where you did continue higher the following week. You have something like that where you did continue higher the following week. Something like that, continue higher. So we'll see if we get that. But I don't think that is going to be the case. But I do think you get 178 to 180 tomorrow, and the market's going to have a bit more of a bounce. And that's that. All right, guys. So, just protect yourself in these markets, guys. It is pretty irrational what's going on. We have the whole dual mandate thing. The Fed's trying to, get inflation under control. Get inflation, keep inflation down. Okay, but you got the PPI spiking, more than it has since 2022. You had the hottest reading you had. Biggest miss, I should say, since 2022. That's quite crazy. All right. So that's ticking up, and they can't just raise rates because they also have the dual mandate going on where they have to, they have to keep the economy healthy. They got to keep the jobs market nice, healthy, and breathing over there. And guess what? Higher rates just tighten everything up. That's just by default how things will be. All right. You have tougher monetary policy. That's how things are going to be. Well, they don't want to completely kill the jobs market. Newsflash, they kind of already have. So they want to help that out. And you got to loosen the economy. You got to loosen rates for that. And then it loosens that tight grip on the entire economy there and on the job market. They're trying to heat up there, which is not working. And yeah, one thing they need to lower rates, one thing they need to raise rates. And I'm just saying the inflation is induced by the tariffs. Whether that actually be the tariffs or the anticipation of the tariffs, supply chain, that's a shock that it's very clearly easy to see coming. I think that's really the only thing that would cause the inflation spike there, and we're going to see if that maintains. That could have just been an initial spike there, as pretty much the market reprices everything. That's what the tariffs were forcing every fucking country to do. Pardon my French. That's what Mr. Orange Man Donald Trump there forced every country to do, is reprice the whole supply chain. Doesn't matter what your product is, doesn't matter what your service is. All right. It probably did have some sort of impact by those tariffs. All right. Or whether that was the fear, the uncertainty around them, so people are just going to hike prices anyway around the chain. All right. Or whether they actually got hit with them. It doesn't matter. That is what happens. Okay. So he's not going to hike rates. It's not going to happen. The Fed is not going to hike rates, all right? Right on the spot. That's just off the table. Guess what? Lowering rates is possible, but I think they're probably just going to keep things still. I don't think they're going to change anything. And I think Jackson Hole on Friday, guys, I think when Jerome is talking there, I think he's probably going to mention exactly what I just talked about, okay? And it's something to keep in mind. And it does go along with, yeah, we can have this sideways market for the next 1 to 2 weeks. I think that is the most probable scenario. I don't think we're going to immediately sell back down, but maybe over the next 1 to 3 sessions, we're going to call it, we can just get a lackluster, continuous lackluster dead cat bounce, and then continue rolling over into end of next week. I really don't know, but I'll tell you in the short term, we're probably going to hold things up and continue pushing a little bit more because of things like NVIDIA over here. Okay? That's what I got for you in today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, just leave that like, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.